Hello and welcome to lesson 41 of the Learning Guitar series. Or at least I think it's lesson 41. I can't remember it's either 41 or 42, but I think it's 41. In the previous lesson we discussed major pentatonics. And in this particular lesson we're going to cover minor pentatonics. And probably a minor pentatonic is the most known scale shape that I can think of when it comes to guitar, in particular, this particular shape. Of course, the shape itself, we already covered it when we did major pentatonic. So when we did, say, G major pentatonic, we found out that the same shape the shape exists already, it's not just for minor pentatonics. In fact, if we look straight away at the PDF I created, you can see, it's like now this is the key of G, obviously you want to transpose it in other keys, but the shapes, the finger patterns themselves are going to be exactly the same as the ones you did for major pentatonics. Of course, they're going to be placed in different area of the neck. The concept is exactly the same as when we did the major modes. So you studied 5 basic finger shape or 7 finger shapes if you went for the 3 notes per strings kind of idea. And in this case for minor, the shapes are still the same as the major, we're just displacing them, okay? So for example, let me actually loop. I'm gonna have a G as a drone so you can hear the difference. So for G major pentatonic we did this. Let's have a look at the finger pattern. The same finger pattern shifted somewhere else on the neck gives me G minor pentatonic. And in fact, in a way, if you want a little bit of a shortcut, at the moment, just take it face value. But, in terms of shape, I can move from a major pentatonic to a minor pentatonic in the same key, obviously. So in this case, G, by taking a shape, particular shape, and move it up a tone and a half. So from this, I can move it the same finger pattern, a tone up. So from G, in this case, I'm going to B flat. And in this case, I have the equivalent minor pentatonic. The concept of relative minor, because that's what it is, we're going to discuss it eventually in the near future. At the moment, just take it face value. So if I was to play, say, G major pentatonic using this shape, I'm starting from an A note. Now I can move this a tone and a half up. So I'm starting in C. And I have my equivalent minor pentatonic. But first of all, let's have a look at the intervals. As you know, I like, to dig a little bit deeper than just, doing a scale up and down. The intervals of a minor pentatonic are 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. So we know it's minor. Actually, you can see the minor arpeggio in it, which is 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. So when we did, say, Dorian or Aeolian or minor modes, we already studied that arpeggio, which is 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. So with the minor pentatonic, all we're doing is actually adding one single note, the 4th. So for, say, G minor, that's my arpeggio, made of 4 notes, and for the pentatonic, I'm adding the 4th. So far, it should be easy enough. And again, you have 5 shapes. The way you want to practice them, if you practice the major arpeggios, like I hope you did from the previous lesson, the shapes themselves, you should already know them. If you haven't practiced them yet, you might want to take each individual shape. So for example, let's start from this shape, the kind of very well-known one. And to a metronome, obviously, you might want to do it. So I'm basically doing it chromatically just to get some muscle memory on the shape. Of course, tell yourself what you're playing, so you can also train your photographic memory at the same time. So this is G minor pentatonic. A flat minor pentatonic. A minor pentatonic. B flat minor pentatonic, etc. After that, you might want to take the second finger pattern, so this one, which starts on the flat 3. Eventually, you can start in G, and that's your root note, so this gives you a reference, or, and the chord, as you can see, that's why I put it in blue, so you can see the chord and the scale. So in this case, so if I start at fret 5, that's my G minor pentatonic. But in the context of these studies, you might want to start from, the lower area of the neck available to you. So if I was to start here, this is my bass note, right? And that's an E flat. So this is E flat minor pentatonic. And again, you might want to do it chromatically so that you create a muscle memory. E minor pentatonic. F minor pentatonic. And you might want to go all the way up on the neck and, and back down. Same you would do for the third shape, the fourth shape, and the fifth shape. As I said, when you're doing this, you're covering both major and minor pentatonics. The shapes are exactly the same. Now, let's look a little bit of harmony and theory in terms of when we can apply this. Of course, we know we can apply it to minor chords, fair enough. The minor chord is within it, right? But like we did for the major arpeggios, when we did the major arpeggios, we realized that actually I could apply my major pentatonic to a chord number 1, but I could also apply it to a chord number 4. We saw that I could apply it over a Lydian type of chord, so major with a sharp 11 or sharp 4. And I could even apply it to a mixolydian type of chord, because the interval of a major pentatonics are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And these are all common notes which are common with the mixolydian. So let's use the same approach, theoretical approach, and let's see what happens when we look at, a minor pentatonic. So let's first of all, let's look at the intervals of a minor pentatonic. We say that it is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. We know these are the intervals of a minor pentatonic. Okay? Well, let's have a look at Aeolian. An Aeolian scale, so the 6th degree of, major modes, goes 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. So as you can see, all the notes of a minor pentatonic are actually in common with Aeolian. So for a chord number 6, I can use a minor pentatonic instead of Aeolian, if that's where my musical ideas want to go. What about Dorian? Because we also know that Dorian is a minor scale when it comes to major modes. And we know that Dorian goes 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, and flat 7. Again, all these notes, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7, they are all in common with Dorian too. So, and we're going to look at the Santana kind of approach to pentatonics and Dorian in a second. What other minor scale do we have within the major modes? Well, we have Phrygian. And we know that the intervals for Phrygians are 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. Which means, again, all these notes are in common. Okay? So if we think in terms of chords, let's take, for example, a Dorian chord would be, if I want to really, for you to hear Dorian, It's a minor chord, and we know the extensions are 9, 11, and 13. So let's take, for example, and 13 is the same as the 6. A minor chord, this, and I'm going to add the 6. I'm going to freeze it. And you can see that our minor pentatonic, in this case, the chord is A, I'm playing A minor pentatonic, kind of fits. Let's take a Phrygian chord. In this case, like Phrygian, we know that it can have as extension a flat 9, an 11, and a flat 13. So in this case, I'm going to play A minor with a flat 6. And as you can hear, my bluesy licks, they still work. They sound, the fact that the chord underneath is slightly different from what you're used to, it's got a kind of a little bit of a different sound, although I'm using the same scale and somehow kind of the same licks in a way. If you think Aeolian instead, so now we know that beside the minor chord, the extensions for Aeolian is 9, 11, flat 13. So let's maybe add a 9 and a flat 13 to our chord. So we have this kind of sound. Hold on. So as you can see, they all work, okay? And the reason they work is because the pentatonic scale, the 5 notes of the pentatonic scales, are actually, as we have seen, included in all these 3 scales, okay? So I think so far it should be kind of easy for you to understand, in a way, why pentatonics are so used. Because it's, in a way, because it's made of only 5 notes, and it contains the note of the chords. We say there is the arpeggios in there. So 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. It's already in there. You're adding 1 note to it. Well, it's hard to get a wrong note out of it. So in a way, it's easier to some extent, especially if you're beginning to kind of play solos, to have some degree of musicality. You don't really have to necessarily think about all the extensions and stuff. We will see in the next lessons, actually, how we can move pentatonics around. Minor pentatonics, I'm going to do. You can do the same with major. The reason I'm going to do it with minor is because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are more familiar with the minor approach. And we're going to discuss something called minorizing. But, let's not put too much meat on the fire. The exercises, so the previous lesson had the PDF that came with it, which were patterns, where the major pentatonic was dissected in terms of playing it maybe with intervals, right? And other stuff. It was like a few pages of that, and intervals and groups, etc. So those exercises are still valid when it comes to minor pentatonics. So keep doing them. As I say, the shapes, the finger patterns you're using are the same. So those studies were relevant then, they're still relevant now. What I added this time, I added more patterns you can study. So these are applied to the minor pentatonics, but as I said, you can use this for major. So this is called group of 3 strings, and so these are the 5 shapes. So it's the same kind of exercise applied to the 5 shapes. And the concept of it is actually very simple. I'm taking a pentatonic. Let's use the standard one. And what you're doing, you're playing the first 3 strings. So then you're playing, starting from the 2nd string, from the 5th string. So actually, before somebody tells me that is wrong, right? And you play 3 strings. Then you start from the 4th string. Then you start from the 3rd string. The effect is going to be something like this. And of course, you do it for all. You do it for all the five shapes. Again, if you're building muscle memory, you might want to take one shape at a time and practice the pattern chromatically. Okay, so you do it in A, in G. Etc. Then you again do it for all five shapes. Don't get too used to one shape. A lot of people, they know this guy and they just get stuck there. Okay, five shapes. You're covering all the guitar. The next pattern you can look at is this one. And in this case, similar concept, but we're applying string skipping. In other words, again, let's do it on the first shape here. Playing 2 notes, 6th string, 2 notes on the 4th string, 2 notes on the 5th string, 2 notes on the 3rd string. So you practice a little bit of string skipping. Again, same on all shapes. Okay. I think there is maybe one or two more. Here is the pentatonic. Again, 5 shapes. Instead of being played first finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 2nd finger, etc., it's kind of played backwards. So you're still working on 2 notes. So you start from the 2nd note, you start from the 2nd note, and the same thing backwards. I'm pretty sure that the PDF actually is more explanatory than I can be. Maybe sometimes English is not my first language, so I might make it more confusing than it is. And again, you might want to do this because it's a nice pattern. In a way, it's better than, but still, same notes. Last but not least is a little diagonal pattern over 5 shapes. In this case, we're starting from a note, then I'm going to the string below. And again, same thing. And again, this is all over G minor in this case. So. Or without groupings. I hope it makes sense. As I said, these are good exercises that cover, again, what I call the word area, the middle area between you learning the alphabet and you learn how to phrase. That is just a letter of an alphabet. It's not phrasing yet, okay? Of course, I'm sure most of you already have some blues licks, the kind of. Again, you can use those. They're absolutely fantastic and musical. And in the next lesson, we're going to look how to displace them so we can get other sounds out of it. Same licks. One more thing we can do is actually to practice this, our knowledge so far, to backing track. A couple of backing tracks, in this case, Amatic. One is designed to move things from major to minor. Of course, you can do this to a metronome. You don't have to use a backing track. To do it to a metronome really kind of helps you in nailing, tempo. But, so let's say if I have G, this is major. Minor. Major. Minor. Major. Minor. Major. And we're back. And in a second, I'm going to load a couple of backing track and I'll show you how I'll practice it. And another thing, it would be, there's a backing track where you have minor chords played in interval of thirds. What it means is basically a chord progression that in this case goes B minor, then it moves to D minor, then it moves to F minor, and then it moves to A flat minor. So you're playing pentatonics over 4 different keys, and you have to negotiate those changes. So chord-wise, it would be a bit like playing this. If you're staying in this area of the neck, and here is your pentatonic. Then you have D minor. Then you have F minor. And then you have A flat minor. Now, in your quest to find musicality, what you might want to do, of course, like spend some time having a muscle memory and a photographic memory of the shapes. Spend some time studying these PDFs that are created in terms of patterns and study of intervals within, dissect the pentatonic scales, not just playing it up and down. And then use the backing track for musicality. In that case, you're not practicing technique. I mean, if you want, you can, but I think what you should practice is musicality. And as we've seen when we discussed phrasing, in a way, what you want to do, first of all, map the area of the neck, especially if you're doing the 4 chords moving in interval of thirds. So there is a lot of chord changes going on. So, be aware, okay, that's B minor, that's, D minor, that's F minor, that's A flat. If you're doing it over here. If you're doing it here, so that's B minor, that's D minor, that's F minor, that's A flat. If we move more up here, okay, that's B minor, that's D minor, that's F minor, that's A flat. Up here, what do we start? B minor, B minor, D minor, F minor, A flat. If we keep moving, B minor, D minor, F minor, there is an E flat here and A flat here, okay? Because you know the chord, of course, there is a pentatonic that goes with that. Use the root note as a reference. So when it comes to phrasing, you might want to take a little idea and just keep multiplying it. Remember, we're improvising when we're doing these kind of exercises. So, and trust me when I say every time in previous lessons and even in this one, sometimes I play towards the end to a backing track. I only do it once. So, you might find I might even do mistakes and leave them there. It happens. You're practicing at the end of the day, but of course you want to reduce the amount of mistakes. But Trust me when I tell you, I'm not playing 25 times until I have a good take. It's just, that's it. That's the take. As I said, we're improvising. Okay. So you might want to take a little idea and move it around. You'll notice that that's going to give you like musicality. Anyway, I'm going to load the backing track now because I have it in a different file. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to load the one with 4 chord changes as opposed to major to minor. But on Patreon, you will find both of them. And if you're an advanced supporter on Patreon, you will also find the same backing track. Actually, I previously uploaded them in all 12 keys, not just, G major, G minor, but all keys. So you can, maybe change it every day and learn this material in all keys, which is how you should do it. Okay, let's load the backing track. you can see, I got a little bit more carried away than I usually would. But what was happening there, I started using Dorian and not only pentatonic minors, because as we studied, I could have used the Dorian, I could have used the major scale, but in this case, I kept everything Dorian. And from Dorian to pentatonic, from pentatonic to Dorian, sometimes there were some chromatic motions happening. It just, I was enjoying it. Okay. So maybe it was not as didactical as I should have been, but you get the point. This is it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If anything, I hope you learned something out of it. Don't forget to download the PDFs from my Patreon page. The support is, $3 a month. So it helps me, in a way, continue this project. So consider supporting the project and you'll have access to a lot of material, not just this particular lesson. Of course, if you're an advanced supporter, don't forget, you should already have downloaded these backing tracks in 12 keys, but anyway, I'm going to put links to it in case you haven't done so yet. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment either on Patreon or on YouTube. It's been a pleasure, and as I said, next lesson we're going to look at the concept of minorizing. You'll find it, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll probably find it very, very interesting. Okay, until next time, goodbye.